which is the term of this lease agreement, you have no financial interest in the truck. All lease payments that you're making every week are simply lease payments. You have no benefit. Okay, I'm going to start on the RE Garrison documents today, and there's two documents. One is your equipment lease agreement with Advantage Leasing. Advantage Leasing is actually an arm of RE Garrison. The next document is going to be where you're leasing the equipment on to RE Garrison, as you being the contractor, them being the carrier. So let's get into the actual equipment lease agreement first, where you're acquiring the equipment from Advantage Leasing. Now, I'm going to do this one a little bit different because I've gone over this, and it's really very boilerplate. There's nothing that really jumps out, as being questionable. But there are a couple of items that I want to point out to you, just so you are aware of it, and you can discuss it with your attorney or whoever's going to review your documents for you. But at the very least, I want you to be aware that these items are in there. And this equipment lease is actually an 11-page document. And the first page is, like I said, just very general boilerplate stuff. But it does mention in here on item number 3 on page 1, it does mention that you're going to pay a rental tax equal to 1.5% of your total monthly lease payment. So if you're paying $650 a week, for example, or $700 a week, you're paying $2,800 a month. So 1.5% of that $2,800, so that's going to be tacked on to your $2,800 monthly payment, even though you're paying it at $700 a week. Your total monthly payment, they're going to take that number and they're going to add 1.5% to it, and that's to cover rental tax. And item number 4 kind of goes hand in hand with that, because it says that leasee, meaning you, shall pay all personal property, excise, road, sales or use tax, license fees, and all other taxes and fees now or hereinafter in effect during the period of this lease. Now, unless the state of Alabama has some used truck excise tax, and I don't think they do, excise tax would not apply here. You pay federal excise tax when you buy a new truck. That federal excise tax is not paid on used trucks, only new trucks. And since you're not buying the vehicle at this point, you're leasing it, there should be no sales and use tax, because you're not buying anything. So those two items should not apply, and you need to question people at Garrison about these sales and use tax and ask them to give you specifics and look at your settlement. If you're doing the lease purchase, look at your settlement agreements, because you're not buying anything, so there shouldn't be any sales and use tax. There will be a rental tax. So if they're hitting you for a sales and use tax and they're hitting you for a rental tax, then you're being overcharged. Also, I would have to question the personal property tax, because it's not your personal property. What they're doing is Garrison, aka Advantage Leasing, is trying to take all of the taxes that they're responsible for and pass it on to you. And I'm no tax expert, but I don't think they can rightfully do that, because again, it's not your personal property. You're not buying anything, and there is no excise tax on used trucks. So none of that should really apply, and I would actually have to question that. But one other item on item 4 here that sticks out, item 4B, it says, in the event any rental or other payment due to leaseor, meaning Advantage Leasing, is not paid timely, such arrearage shall, on demand from the leaseor, be subject to an interest rate of 1% per month until paid. Well, if R.E. Garrison owns the leasing company and you've leased the truck on to R.E. Garrison, they're keeping you loaded and they're administering everything, how are you going to get in arrears? The only way you can get in arrears and get behind on payments is if you're not running. And if you're not running, they're going to terminate your lease agreement and send you on your way. So I don't see the point in that. But again, most everything on here is boilerplate. One other item I'd like to point out to you is item number 6, and I'm going to include these in the video. But item number 6 on this equipment lease reads, no title or ownership interest in the equipment shall pass to you, the leasee, except rights herein expressly granted, unless and until the leasee exercises his option to purchase as described in paragraph 5 of Schedule A, and you pay any and all monies owed to the leaseor as per the terms of this lease agreement. Neither title nor ownership of the equipment shall transfer to you. Upon the leaseor's request, leasee agrees at his or her expense to allow the leaseor to affix a tag, plate, or stencil to the equipment showing leaseor's title thereto. This agreement is a lease and not a security agreement, and leasee has no rights in the leased vehicle except as a leasee. In the event this lease is construed as by any court of competent jurisdiction to be a financing arrangement, then leasee grants to leaseor a security interest in the leased vehicle. So they're telling you up front, for the first 156 weeks of this, which is the term of this lease agreement, you have no financial interest in the truck. All these payments that you're making every week are simply lease payments. You have no benefit other than the use of the truck. You're paying for the truck. You have to maintain the truck, put fuel in the truck, service the truck, keep tires on it, etc., etc., etc. But you have no ownership interest in the truck. It's just like if I went to the Ford dealer or a Chevy dealer or something and I leased a new vehicle. I have no ownership interest in that vehicle. if it's say a 2-year lease or a 3-year lease or something like that, at the end, then I will have, and it's in the paperwork whenever you lease a vehicle at a dealership, I will have the ability to purchase that vehicle at a predetermined price, and that price will be in the lease agreement whenever you go and lease the vehicle. You know, if you went and bought and leased a brand new SUV, if it's a 2-year lease or a 3-year lease or whatever, there's going to be a residual value at the end of that lease. So let's say it's a 3-year lease and you're doing 15,000 miles a year. So at the end of 3 years, you're going to have 45,000 miles or less on the vehicle. If it's more, well, then they're going to charge you 10 cents to 25 cents a mile, depending on your lease terms. But until you exercise that option to buy, you don't own or have any financial interest in that automobile. You're just simply basically renting it. And that's the same thing with this. They're just pointing that out to you and making it clear. You know, all these other pages in here on the inspection, you've got 30 days, or excuse me, you got 10 days which to fully inspect the vehicle, you know, point out to them in writing anything that you find that's wrong with the vehicle. You know, the APU doesn't work, or the defroster doesn't work, or whatever the case may be. You know, there's just noise when you're started up. You need to point that out to them within the first 10 days. All right. This does break down a warranty. I believe it's a 6-month warranty, if I'm not mistaken, 180 days. So read over that and make sure you understand it. But all in all, this is a very, what I call, boilerplate lease agreement. It talks about your maintenance fund and how that's going to be administered. As long as you're running consistently, it's going to be 8% every week. But if you're getting behind, you're running in the negative, well, then it's going to increase until they get that fund built up, and then it'll fall back to 8%. So read over that and make sure you understand it. Again, there's nothing really out of the ordinary, nothing that really throws up red flags, in my opinion. But again, as always, I would encourage you to get a copy of this and review it with your legal advisor. Find you a good attorney and get them to explain all the particulars to you. But like I said, to me, this is a very standard run-of-the-mill equipment lease agreement. There's no hooks in this one like there was in Well Company. And I'm going to leave it at that right now. In the next couple of days, I'll get into the actual independent contractor operating agreement with RE Garrison, where you're signing the equipment onto them. You're going to run under their hauling authority, and they're going to be the carrier, and you're working under their authority. So that'll be the next thing that I get into, and we'll do more of a deep dive on it. But it's about a 30-page document, and I've just started reviewing it. But I wanted to share this with you on this equipment lease. And again, this is between you and Advantage Leasing. Advantage Leasing is actually part of or owned by RE Garrison. It's an arm of Garrison. And in fact, when you leave Garrison's office, if you go up and get on Interstate 65 and head south, look on your left-hand side, you'll actually see Advantage Leasing and Equipment Sales up there on the left on the hill. So you can run by their office if you like. Anyway, that's it for today. You guys be safe, and I'll see you on the road. Bye.